Welcome everyone to the 3 Martini lunch. I'm assuming that he counted us down. I couldn't quite hear it, but we are live at the 3 Martini lunch, a virtual networking event broadcast all over the country, and we are going to discuss business issues and personal issues and life issues that impact how you are successful. And I'm glad to see some people back that we haven't seen for a week or two. Clint, welcome back. Domenic, welcome back. And Yael, you're new to the show. Welcome back.
Hi.
You're located overseas right now or in the U.S.?
I am in Tel Aviv, Israel.
Excellent, terrific. You know, I used to live there for a while.
Nice.
Not too far.
Come back to visit.
Absolutely. Okay, so what are we doing? We have a great question this week, but in general, like, I hope everything is going well for everyone. I'm just going to go back to our core here, and before we ask the question of the week, I'd like everyone to share a success with me that they've had in the last week. And that success can be personal, it can be business oriented, or it could be spiritual. Anything that you've had that's been a success since we last spoke with you. Clint is nodding his head, so he's got a lot of successes going on. Why don't we start with you, Clint? Clint Webb.
So one business success is, everything's on back order now. Anybody that has to order anything from anywhere knows that everything is taking 2 to 3 to 17 months to get anywhere. And so I just had two orders installed today that I put in May. So I finally get paid for those. So that's pretty nice. I'm excited about that. And on another thing is, we have the Joe Schmo Sports Show podcast, Domenic and I, and we just had an insane interview yesterday with Mr. Richard Watkins, or Coach Richard Watkins, who is the golf coach at North Carolina A&T University. And if anybody knows anything about sports recently, one of an NBA star, or used to be now retired, J.R. Smith, has re-enrolled in college and has made the golf team on his own for North Carolina A&T. And so that was a really, really, really good time. And apparently of hundreds of interviews that this cat has done over the last couple of weeks, we are one of his 2 favorite, along with the Golf Channel. And this guy got interviewed by ESPN. So we kept it for like an hour and 45 minutes and just shot the shit. It was a really good time.
That's terrific. This shortage is really absolutely sort of crazy.
Yep.
Toyota yesterday announced that they are cutting back their international production of Toyota vehicles by 40%.
Wow.
Because of lack of parts.
Crazy.
And it's the truth. I mean, I brought my Lexus in to have some repairs done, and they just aren't making those parts anymore. They decided, hey, go buy a new car instead, but they don't have to sell you.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yael, it's your first time. We're just going to jump right into it.
Sure.
If you could just tell us what you do there, since we don't know what you do, and then we'll ask you what your success has been for the week.
Absolutely. So I am a co-founder and co-CEO of a startup called Solid Block. We're at solidblock.co. And our mission is to make real estate accessible to everyone by allowing people to buy and sell real estate like they would do stocks. But as a private product, right? Not as a public REIT, so to speak. So anybody can tokenize a project. We call it tokenization, and anybody can buy it and buy a piece of it. So that's what we do. We're an American company. We like to live in Israel because of the weather. So that's what we do. And in terms of my success last week, the one thing that comes to mind is that I managed to catch COVID while on vacation in Hungary, or likely brought it over from Israel to Hungary, and was in quarantine while abroad, trying to get back home. And I managed to make that happen. So that was a big success for me.
But no yummy pastries for you.
Sorry?
No yummy Hungarian pastries for you.
Yeah, nothing was yummy because you lose your sense of smell or taste. So I didn't realize for a week while Hungarian food tasted so bad. Apparently it wasn't the fault of the Hungarian food. So now COVID free and back to work full speed. So
it's interesting that you brought up the concept that your company is working with, because I was discussing a similar concept with someone with that here in the United States, where they're purchasing homes, turning them into corporations, and then selling them fractionally.
Yeah, like realty, possibly.
It's in
Yeah.
Realty.
Yeah.
That's the name of the company. They just had an
Yeah,
article.
yeah. Yeah, we know them really well. So that's an interesting, that's a similar concept. We work with larger commercial projects than single family homes. But yeah, the idea is the same. Is basically for us is the idea is to give people access to like institutional quality products.
Excellent. Well, we will I'm sure hear more about that over the next few weeks.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Damon, what has been your most recent success?
My most recent success actually is not business related, it's personal. My wife and I have a 9-acre piece of land that we are going to build our dream home on. It's heavily wooded. It's far, far away from other human beings, which is fantastic. I like other humans in small doses, like a lot of you probably do. Just kidding. But the big challenge with it is that there's a creek that runs through it, which is great, but part of it lies in a floodplain. And I did not know anything about the complexities of floodplain when you want to build. And so we filed for what's called a letter of map amendment with FEMA. And basically what they do is they section off the part of the land that is actually in the floodplain, and they separate out the part where you want to build a home that's above the flood area. So that way you don't have to get flood insurance. I didn't realize what an undertaking this would be. Let's see, I had my meeting with the engineer and the city planners and all of that the week of Christmas last year. And we just got an answer from FEMA.
Well, that's good to hear. I wish a real estate agent gave you a little bit more direction on that beforehand.
Well, we don't have a real estate agent. We bought the piece of land. Yeah. You know, I mean, come on, what good does a real estate agent do? I'm just kidding.
Understood.
But no, I was very happy we got that done. Now the next step is we've got to get hydrological analysis, all kinds of stuff. We've got to build a bridge across the property before we can even begin building the house. Of course, you know, it's summertime in Oklahoma and it's about 1,000 degrees outside, and nobody wants to do any work. So, and then of course football season starts, and then nobody will want to do any work then either. So anyway.
Well, it seems like you went about it all wrong. You should have just seceded from the United States. You're way out in the middle of nowhere. They never would have known what you were doing anyway.
Oh, trust me. With a last name like King, you can create your own little fiefdom. So there
passports. You know, real estate is really something that has been changed by COVID. I wrote some marketing material this week emphasizing how the house had great outdoor entertaining areas and extra offices secluded from the rest of the house. Things that didn't have value before are certainly having a lot of value. I guess we're not post-COVID. I thought we were in May, but we're not. We're like in COVID. So a lot of things have definitely changed as far as desirability with housing. Just had a conversation with someone today at corporate at Zillow, and they are expecting a little bit of a slowdown in real estate. They've already impacted it. They're pulling back a little bit on their purchasing, and they're getting ready to start raising their fees. Just like, you know, a little bird just told you, so you know that. Heard it from me. Katie, what has been your success in the last week?
So in this last week, we were finally able to provide joy for the staff. So we have more programs than just our bikes. That's the only one we actually fundraise for. But with last year, most teachers, you know, everything was virtual for so long, we couldn't really do it's called Give a Surprise Give Joy program, where we partner with local businesses and we provide their product as a gift of joy for the whole staff that work at the low income schools. So not just teachers, but like day porter, kitchen staff, front office staff too, because the kids aren't just bringing their stress into the classroom, but into the hallways, into the cafeteria, and their parents into the front office. So we partner with Big B Coffee. Do you guys have Big B up there? Oh wait, you do, right? No? So Big B Coffee is a wonderful local coffee company. It's a franchise, but the franchisee owners own the rights that I know to all of North and South Carolina. So if any Big B's pop up, it's under our people, and they give back to the community so much. And they partner with us countless times. And we go in and we surprise the whole staff with a cup of coffee to kind of just start their day off right and bring them a little joy. So
I mean, it's great with your company. You're not helping just the students by creating better morale in the classroom. You're also helping the teachers, right?
Yeah, and the day porter in the kitchen. I mean, think about, there's no PTO or PTA money in these low-income schools to ever do anything like the affluent schools have for the staff. And on the rare occasion a company or someone does do something, it's usually just for the teachers. We forget about, what about the kitchen staff? They're working minimum wage and they're still in there all day preparing breakfast for the kids and lunch. And lunch the first lunch is at 10:30. My friends, they're teachers that have that, call it their brunch. They usually eat their breakfast then. And it goes all the way to like 1:30. So they're there all day. And the kids think about how chaotic those cafeterias are if you've ever been in one. Well, they're in there the whole time dealing with it and cleaning up. And so it's the same stress and drama and stuff. So yes, Clint wrote mimosas. I'm sure the teachers wish. I've actually once tried to partner with a wine place and bring bottles of wine to teachers, and the district was like, no, you cannot bring 400 bottles of wine into an elementary school. I'm like, but it's sealed. They're like, no, Katie.
I think it's an excellent idea.
I tried.
When your friends from the coffee company start opening up in Raleigh, please let me know and we can give them some sort of big introduction and welcome. Get some.
I will. I'll ask them if they have a plan for that, because they're so great. But anyway, so we got to do that at North Charleston Elementary, which is notoriously an extremely rough behavior school. And they were one of the most accommodating, friendly, easy to work with schools we have ever worked with. And they were like, we want to do a bike reveal here. We're going to help you fundraise. We're going to help you get the money. Like schools can be sometimes difficult to work with. Like they're happy you're there, but they have a lot of other things going on and they just don't really have the time to be accommodating. This school was like above and beyond for us. So it was great. And the staff was super appreciative. We're going to be posting pictures today on our social media from the event. So check those out.
Terrific. Thank you, Katie. Lisa, could you share the success you've had this week?
Yes, my hubby and I finally dipped our feet into the Airbnb universe, and we just listed one of our properties on Airbnb, following all those fabulous rules. And so I'm excited about that. I've stayed in many, and so now we have one and see what it's like as opposed to having long-term renters. So look out, world.
Yeah, it should be fun, or maybe not. We'll have to hear later on. Devin, what is the success you've had this week?
So I was invited by a friend to a laser convention in California, and I've never been to one before. So kind of went out there blind, and I was a little nervous at first, but I was like, you know what, just have faith. I'm going to make something happen out there. And the first day of the convention, I met a bunch of doctors, got a bunch of research. That night came up with a solution for them. And then the next day I went and presented my solution to a bunch of people. And I ended up bringing on 3 doctors to help manage their current database so they can communicate with them. And then I'm also working with a medical equipment supplier to help sell more lasers. So I thought it was going to be nothing, and it became huge. So that was awesome.
You got to play with lasers, which is super cool.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
Domenic, haven't seen you in a week or two. What successes have you had that we don't know of?
Oh my goodness. Have had a lot of them, both personal and professional. So personal, as our first child is finally in college, so that's awesome.
Yay!
Yeah, excited about that. I mean, that's definitely seeing the light at the end of the tunnel as far as my goal to become an empty nester at some point before I die. Second thing is I got 2 new hires coming on at New York Life on my team, so pretty excited about that. If Damon can tell you as much as anybody how difficult it is to hire people in the financial services industry, because it's difficult to move people from a job to a career where their success depends upon their effort. So it's a big move for folks. And then just just listening here, I wanted to reapproach some of the things that people spoke about earlier. So yeah, Yael, it might not be your loss of sense of taste that has to do with the problems with Hungarian food, but the fact that somebody who's accustomed to eating Middle Eastern cuisine probably doesn't do very well with overcooked meat and sour cream as the basis of a cuisine. Secondly, Damon, if you're going to secede from the union, I think you're probably in a pretty good place, given that Texas and Oklahoma just seceded from the Big 12. So you're in good company out there, my friend.
Yeah, we're excited about it. we're excited to be hated. Although I do want to just a quick shout out. My Sooners are playing Tulane this weekend, and it was supposed to be in New Orleans, and it's been moved here to Oklahoma. I know all of us are thinking about our friends and neighbors down in New Orleans. I was just there 2 months ago, and to see on television these places that I was just in underwater and destroyed, it's heartbreaking. I hate it. So we're going to hopefully show some great hospitality to our friends from New Orleans when they come up this weekend. So.
Okay. Absolutely. Jennifer, could you share the successes you've had with us this last week?
Since I wasn't here last time, I guess definitely the last couple of weeks I've been building up potential clients and partners for my startup for Plover Animation. So it seems like I have a good list so far of startups, of app developers, game development industry, and sustainable energy or sustainable foods industries. Which seems to be the trend now for the future right now. So I have some good partnerships laid out. That's something that you just can't go up and call someone a stranger. That's just long-term relationships that I built up over the years. And say, hey, would you be interested in any kind of animation for your, advertising? You want to make professional commercials and things like that? And I was like, yeah, definitely. Let's talk about that. So yeah, definitely excited about that, and also doing some animations for like characters for video games too. Looking forward to getting into that. But that's one thing. And then another thing is I brought on some new interns. I always bring in a fresh batch every semester, it seems. So looking forward to having them take care of my other business with the advertising, and seeing, the next generation, seeing who else I can, work with long term and, take over certain tasks. So exciting things going on.
Well, that's fantastic. And just want to let you both know, you and Katie both know, we will be having an event in Greenville, South Carolina soon. We've been told, new Rockstar Connect event in Greenville. So maybe you guys can road trip down there. Hi, Jenny. It's been a while. Great to see you. I had a feeling you were going to be on today, because they told me you were going to be on.
Yeah. I wasn't sure because we kept changing our travel schedule, but as you can see, I'm still not home. I'm sitting in my dad's office in his bookkeeper seat. But fortunately, she only comes like once a month, so she was here last week. But yeah, so yeah, we've been traveling for the past 10 days. I'm kind of over it. Like, I'm ready to sleep in my own bed. And I'm not looking forward to more road trips. And like, that's all I have lined up in my future is road trips because of our hockey our kid plays hockey, but it is what it is. From a professional standpoint, I've had a couple of new and unique and interesting clients that have signed on in the past week. And it's allowing me to be creative and do some reimagining of some of the services I offer, and I'm pretty excited about that. And my yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm just trying to, like, this was my,
to get back home.
Here's my to-do list for today. Like, I'm just trying to get through everything and get back into the groove of things.
Excellent. We all got to get back into the groove. Hey, Norma, I'm so happy to see you. I'm glad you could be on today. What success we're starting off with the success question, and then we're going to go into the other question. But what success have you had in the last week?
Well, I've had a couple of them, and great to be seen. One is I do a 11-week class 3 times a year, and I just started one last Thursday with 12 new people in there, which I'm very excited about. And secondly, I brought a new VA in, my first full-time VA, and she started about 3 weeks ago. And in a very short time, she got done almost everything I had for her to start with, organizing my email, stuff like that. And then I just found out that she's a great, great, great marketing person. So, and which is another hole I wanted to fill. So I didn't know I filled it with one spot, so I'm very excited, and I'm clicking about all the things I'm going to assign her to turn this around. So she
Excellent.
and
Is
I
she
are both
in the
taking
United
part in it.
States?
What's
Or
that?
is she in the United States?
No, she's
Or-
actually in the Philippines. I had a call. I was looking for, mentally saying, okay, I need a VA. And I was looking at a few that came in through LinkedIn. Nothing really hit. And then I had someone that said, would you like to have a free VA for a week? Yeah. So then, then I signed up, and they interviewed me, and I interviewed her, and she was perfect in attitude and content and everything else. She got my voice very quickly. And the best part is it's the best priced VA I've ever seen. They charge for part-time, 20 hours a week, $600 a month, and for full-time, $850 a month. So to have one at her quality with the skills that she has, I'm planning on a long-term full-time employee to help me really grow my business, because she's young and she's energetic and she's great spirited. She's all the things I was looking for without having to look for it. It just kind of showed up. So that's a real big win. I'm really very, very happy to have her.
Well, that's terrific. Alan, who's producing the show today, he is in the Philippines, and he is in charge of our entire staff in the Philippines. So
Yes.
we're always grateful for Alan.
Yes.
We always want to have Alan on the show. He refuses to be on the show because he's a little shy. Adam, out in
Hey,
Canada.
Stephen, I know you always can count on me for some great successes, and quite frankly, I was drawing a couple blanks because it's been a really rough week for me, both personally and otherwise. And I'm kind of jealous, Jenny. My road trip got shut down, so I'm still stuck in Canada. But what I'd like to share is 3 amazing testimonials that I received from my clients. So they're the ones who are having the success. Kelly got booked for Staples. She teaches corporations how not to be a bully, and she just got picked up for 14 more of their corporate shows. Terry Levine, I don't know if you guys know Terry or not. She's launching a book today. I get a bonus if she sells 200 books, and she sold 200 before noon today. And by the way, if you guys want the financial formula for your business, that's the book to get. And lastly, there's Eddie. Eddie has stage 4 cancer and drives around the country to share smiles with people. And when I was upset, when I was down on what I was going through, Eddie gave me a call out of the blue because I was able to connect him through the virtual book tour with some amazing people in Appalachian Mountains, Adirondacks, that he didn't know when he needed a place to stay. They fed him, they put him up, and they sent him on a way, and it just cost him a few smiles.
That's very uplifting. Adam, if you need to reach out and have a call, certainly call me or anyone on the panel if you want to share what you're going through.
Well, I was certainly planning on visiting your live shows in the Carolinas as I was driving from Canada to Florida, but we're just stuck up here now, and I'll reach out to you.
Well, we've had several great events, and I look forward to hearing from you. So, Yael, before we go to the question, real quick, because we're going to have a shortened period of time to answer the question today. So, you studied in South Carolina when you were in high school. When I was in high school, I studied in Hoda Sharon in Israel.
No way. And the AMHSI?
Yes, and I worked for them for 5 years too.
Oh, that's amazing. I also worked for them. I was their marketing director.
Isn't it funny? I was a Madrid during the Gulf War. Yeah, so a long time ago.
A long time ago. Very cool. Very cool. Are you in South Carolina, Stephen?
I'm in North Carolina in Raleigh.
Oh, okay.
South Carolina is great. Raleigh's a little bit better.
That's awesome. We have a partner in Raleigh, actually, who's working on kind of educating the African American community on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and working together on creating affordable housing projects and that are tokenized. So I can introduce him because I think he could be a good addition to this group.
Love to talk to him. I think there's a lot of people here in the program that you're probably going to want to meet and speak to, because I see a lot of synchronicity between your program and the programs that they're in charge of. Let's jump right into the question, and I'll let you start since you're the newest on the panel. The question is, how would your 10-year-old self react to what you do today? Is this what they would have expected in any form or fashion? And if not, what did they expect?
So let's say 10 years old, that was about 3 years after the Soviet Union broke apart. Like, I was born in the Soviet Union country of Ukraine. And that was at the time where we would go and buy ice cream with these bills that would have zeros multiplied every other day, right? So like huge inflation, right? So, I have 1 million, it was called coupons, one day, and then 10 million the other day, right? And so on. So, and nobody was understanding what's going on. You just knew that these pieces of paper were worthless, right? So at that time, I never imagined that I would be working with this digital money that is not, run by the government and is decentralized. And, but we did understand real estate. Everybody got an apartment at that point. So, what I imagined at that time that I would be likely having my own business, since that's what my father always wanted to do. And, my parents started kind of establishing businesses as the Soviet Union broke up, and you had this freedom. So I think I always understood that I'm going to have my own business at some point. But I don't think I'd ever imagine that I would be, kind of working on the issues that I'm working on. Who imagines that at 10 years old?
Solve some of those problems. We have so much in common, because my family's from the Ukraine, came over to the United States in 1880s, but the Ukraine was so unstable. Then one day it was Russia, the next day it was Ukraine, next day it was Poland, sometime it was Austria. They had no idea what country they lived in. They were just Jews that lived in Ukraine.
Yeah, so it's the same story with me. I tell people I was born in one country that became another country, and now is a third country, because I was born in the Crimea, actually. So
well, there you go.
Yeah, there you
a lot of similarities there. Damon, 10-year-old self, you said you were, wanted to be popular when you were 10, and now you're very popular. How would your 10-year-old self react to who you are today and what you do?
Probably with some confusion, like, what do? He would probably like that you get to deal with money all day long. Then he would be disappointed when I tell him, but it's other people's money. And so that's probably what would happen. Actually, the 10-year-old me wanted to be a meteorologist. I wanted to be a storm chaser.
That's cool.
We live in the heart of Tornado Alley here, and I lived in a neighborhood that was destroyed by a tornado. And while I was terrified of them, and to this day, I probably have a little PTSD. But kind of like if you've ever seen the movie Twister, you know how instead of hiding, she wanted to learn how they work, right? And she wanted to develop a warning system. And that's kind of how I was. I learned everything I could about how weather is formed and that sort of thing. And in fact, I started working on a major in meteorology, but I realized I am not that good at high-level math. A lot of the calculus, some of the high-level physics really, I just couldn't do it very well. So that dream kind of died. And I don't know, my 10-year-old self might be disappointed to know that, but I've got a good life now.
Hey, but you know what? It's like this, if you are a weather nut, you're living in the best time in history to be one. There's everyone can be a meteorologist if they want to. Yeah. Just have your own YouTube channel and go for it.
Yeah.
Jenny Midgley, 10-year-old self, how would they react to what you do today?
Ironic, since I'm sitting in my house as a 10-year-old. I don't think like I was one of those kids that like listened to all the shoulds, right? Like my mom said, you know, you should be a vet or you should be a lawyer or you should be, you know, should. And so I don't think my 10-year-old self would like know what to do with where I'm at now, because it's just so like not even like I didn't even have an idea at 10 of what I wanted to be when I grew up. You know, and like the reasons being like I like animals, so my mom was like, you should be a vet, and I'm like, but don't you have to like put animals to sleep? Like I don't want to do that. You know what I
It's a
mean?
depressing
Right?
job.
Like I'm like, you know, it's an honor, but it's and also like I like animals. Why would I want to be a vet? You know what I mean, like just because you like something doesn't mean that you should make it your job. And alternatively, like just because, yeah, I mean, like, and like the reason that she said I should be a lawyer is because I can argue very, very well. It turns out I can spin things, and there's my dad. He's getting the trash.
Where is the trash can?
I don't know, Dad. It's over there.
They hide everyone.
Like this is life. Like that's what's happening, and it's, you know, almost 3:00.
I mean, but what you've done is you put together your own career, doing your own thing, your own way. So there was, I mean, who could predict that? I mean, there may not be enough person.
Thanks, Dad.
I shall leave you alone.
Right, that's what I did. I did do that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So, just the image of your dad going back there, picking up the garbage, like.
He hasn't put his hearing aid in yet, so I don't even know if he heard me. Like when I was like talking to somebody, or he just doesn't care. He's doing his own thing.
First interruption we've had on Zoom, like in a year, and it's garbage. Your father with the garbage. It would have to be.
It would.
Norma Hollis, how would your 10-year-old self react to what you're doing today? I would imagine they would be very proud.
Well, when I was a child at the age of 8, I woke up one morning with a violent earache. To the doctor, I rushed with lightning speed to be told my ear would always be. It seems a cold started in my nose, traveled through a weak tube to crust on my earlobe, creating a hole in my middle ear drum as my spiritual journey was then begun. So from the ages of 8 to 9, I had excruciating earaches. I had a hole in my eardrum that could only be resolved by putting a solution on the inside of my ear that felt like acid. And I had to go back and have it done again and again. And that was followed by another solid year of earaches that could not be stopped. Drops and shots and everything the doctors do would not work. So I had the earache when I was in Buffalo, New York. I grew up in Detroit. I'm in Buffalo visiting my grandparents. And the doctor could not help me. My mother says, call Papa. Her father, my grandfather, was a Baptist minister. And he came to me and he prayed over my ear. And before he prayed, he says, God must have something very important for you to do to give you so much pain at a young age. And he prayed in the ear and the pain was gone. So at 10 years old, if I knew then what I know now, I'd say, oh, so that's what all of that was all about. That's what the 10-year-old self would say.
That's great stuff, Norma. And I can't get away from Jenny, Norma. At least he was wearing pants. Right? Because my dad would be in here with no pants.
And
going,
honestly, like, that's a possibility. Like, that's a very real possibility.
A real possibility for any of us, because we're all very, that's one thing. All the panelists on this show are very similar in many ways. And we all have dads that would go into the camera without pants.
Right. I mean, we're lucky that he had clothes on. Like, that's where we're at. And Domenic is dying. Because, like, so we've had my parents on the podcast, right? And if you've heard, like, there are stories, like, you have to go listen to it, but you know, it is, we are fortunate that A, he was wearing clothes, and B, that, you know, he was fully
Lisa, how would your 10-year-old self react to who you are today? I think your 10-year-old self probably would have expected you to be like you are today, right?
To a great extent. However, also at the age of 10, I lived in Germany on military bases. I knew that it wasn't a matter of if we would have a nuclear war, it was when. And so at a very young age, I put a lot of life into my living because we weren't going to be around very long. And yeah, I followed a lot of the shoulds and stuff like that my own way. And so my 10-year-old self is just thrilled that I have constantly it's not that I didn't put a lot of stock into the establishment. I just knew that, you know what, it's really okay that you go that way. I'm going this way. And I honor you. You go do that to whatever extent you want. Let's go this way. And I'm so thrilled that a lot of people are coming and having fun too. So she'd be excited.
I mean, it's sort of like the opposite. Like everything else around you is fatalistic, and you're like, you know what? Regardless, I'm going to have a good time and make sure other people enjoy their life as well. And that's why you're a coach, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes. Thank you.
Adam Bricker, your 10-year-old self would have no idea that you would be in Canada right now.
Canada, no, not Canada, but I'm just visiting here. So for authorities who may be listening now, I'm officially visiting Canada.
Mhm.
However, my 10-year-old self did like to have two things, baseball cards and coins. Okay. So I enjoyed baseball cards. Also, when my dad would go to businesses, I collect people's business cards. I had that first stack of business cards before I was 10. By the time I was just getting into business, I was making business cards that looked like baseball cards. And I really enjoyed that. Now I make digital cards. And so, I mean, I'm just right in alignment with it. And I really enjoy money, whether it's regular fiat currency or whether it's cryptocurrency. I'm enjoying all of it right now. So my 10-year-old self would be really happy. And he also liked pretty girls too. So
Well,
I
I'll
married
tell
one
you,
of them.
this week, cryptocurrency really sounds really sane with what's going on in the world. Much easier to understand this week than it was last week.
I'm really enjoying the increases. Yes.
Yes, 100%. Devin, 10-year-old self. How many years ago was it that you were 10?
18.
18. I love that dog, by the way.
Thanks.
Beauty. My dog is sitting in a chair snoring. That's what you're hearing, and moaning. So I have to be quiet so she can go to sleep.
She's real cute.
How would your 10-year-old self react to what you're doing today?
So when I was 10, I liked video games and I wanted a lot of money. And so I wanted to be a surgeon. That was my first thought. And I was stuck to that for a long time. I was like, some type of surgery, maybe plastic surgery, so I could avoid insurance. But then when I got to high school, I learned about residency. And I'm like, I do not want to go through that. That sounds grueling. So I was kind of stuck, still liking video games, but wanted to make a lot of money. And if my 10-year-old self were to meet me now, they'd be stoked because I'm using my brain to solve puzzles now. It feels like a game to me. Plus, I'm able to make the money that I want to. I'm not having to work for somebody because I've never been really good with like being told what to do, and especially not at 10 years old. And so I think my 10-year-old self would be relieved that I finally, found a way to live the life I've wanted to live for a long time.
Well, that's always a common theme on our programs. Having freedom to lead the type of life you want. That's the Rockstar Connect way. Entrepreneurs helping one another live that free and independent life. Thank you, Devin.
Devin, I think my cat wants to be friends with your dog.
Oh yeah,
The same color.
Yeah.
The same color. My dog barks too much, so I let him out. But I'm sure.
Yeah, we actually had to have one of our dogs. Now we have 3 dogs. Have one of our dogs taken out of the house because he can't behave during the broadcast. So he gets to go on a little trip every time. Domenic, 10-year-old self, thought you'd be sitting there in a shirt with a collar and all that stuff.
I've totally forgot what we were talking about because I have yet to get the mental image of yours and Jenny's dad without pants on out of my head. And it brings up something that used to happen when I was a teenager. There's a 1 in 3 chance that on the weekend when one of my friends would come over to the house, if I didn't get to the door first, my dad would answer in his tighty whities. And that is horrifying. And I don't want to think about that ever again. So thank you very much for putting that image back into my head.
My dad used to wear a Speedo.
I'm
didn't
sorry.
get trunks until like 7 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So back to my 10-year-old self. Honestly, I might have been horrified by what I'm doing now. And the reason is because at that age, I wanted to be doing anything other than what my dad was doing. And now I'm doing exactly that. I mean, literally the same position. So
Yeah, you never
it's
thought you'd be doing what your dad. That was the last thing, right?
exactly. I was at 10, I was going to be a doctor. At another point, I was going to be a politician. I was going to be an attorney. I became a chef and spent 20 years doing that and being a restaurateur and entrepreneur, and then got made a career change and got into the financial services career. Found I was very successful at it. I knew the type of living and the kind of financial freedom that it provided for my family. I just didn't really know what it was about. All I knew was that I just didn't want to do it because I was 10, right? You don't want to do what your parents do. You like that's it. It's maybe that's an American thing that you kind of like raised to go the opposite direction and don't do it like I did, right? Listen to what I say, but don't do what I do, type of thing. And then I finally got to the point where this was the industry that I made a career change into, and yeah, at 10 it would have made zero sense to me to talk to my 43-year-old self and say, what are you doing, right? But then my 43-year-old self would look at my 10-year-old self and go, you're 10 years old, what do you know?
It sounds like he's 33 though. He doesn't look.
No, I do not. But thank you for lying to me to my face. I appreciate it.
Now, my parents, when I was growing up, my father said, I come from a long line of attorneys. They said, we will support you in being anything but an attorney. Because they thought they make the world a better place, one less attorney. And I think they're right there. Jennifer, what would your 10-year-old would be saying, I'm doing exactly what a 10-year-old would want to do, right?
Well, almost 10 years old, I didn't have my head straight. So I love nature so much. So I was cut in between, or, what I wanted to do with my life, even though I felt I was a super creative person then, because I was drawing at like 5 years old. And then by then I figure I want to do something with that or do something with nature, like bees, like a biologist or naturalist at the same time. So me doing this is something beyond anything my 10-year-old self could comprehend, because I was so naive. I had no idea what I was doing. So I think she would be impressed. At the same time, she may have other ideas of grandeur, like, oh, I wanted to work for a major movie studio or game studio. And I did not think at the time that I could lead on my own, make my own business. So that did not once cross my mind until much later into adulthood. So yeah, this is that, it would be mind blowing for a kid of my age to understand this.
But very impressed. They would be a very impressed 10-year-old, wouldn't they?
I think so. Yeah, I would like to think so.
Katie, when you were, how would your 10-year-old self react to what you're doing today?
Well, I've always been involved in charity stuff just because my mom did full-time charity work, like volunteer charity work growing up. So I don't think I would have been surprised. I don't think I really understood that you could make it a job though. So I only know my mom volunteered doing it, but I don't think I would be that surprised. But what I wanted to do when I was little was be a news anchor. And I think I would have been a really good news anchor. But as I've gotten older, it's still kind of I would love, my dream job would to be like a talk show host, like those midday, like if you live in Charleston, we have Low Country Live, or, one of those, you interview people around town, different businesses, about their products and their stores and that, or just be like the Ellen DeGeneres or, the Kelly Clarkson show. I think I would be a really good talk show host.
I think you sort of are. You probably don't know how large your audience is, but I would imagine you have a very big audience in social media. It may not be on TV, but I think your social media audience is much bigger than you think.
I think it's not that I have 20,000 followers, but yes, people are watching, but I love being on camera. I love being on a stage on camera and talking to people. And then that aspect of all those shows that get to help people and give away stuff. I just feel like I would love that. That's sort of a long-term goal of mine, is to maybe one day do something like that.
I'm sure you'll do it. I'm sure you'll do it. Absolutely. Who that she's not going to do that?
There was actually something that was like sort of in the works where I would get to do something similar. It just hasn't panned out yet. I can't really like give too many details about it, but it's like a dream job.
Well, I'm sure it'll happen. So my 10-year-old self probably thought I was going to be a college professor, or I was going to be a rabbi, or leading some sort of congregation. But in reality, even at 10 years old, I was an entrepreneur and I was a salesperson. I was the kid that would go to the store and buy a pack of 100 pencils to sell during the week at school, and sell gum, and go door to door and do things entrepreneurial. So it was going to happen. Where my 10-year-old self would be very excited is, the fact that I met my wife, Sarah, and she's so fantastic and way beyond any of my expectations of a life partner. She's just absolutely wonderful. I hope those of you who have not had the opportunity to meet her gets a chance to see her sometime soon. Hey, before we go, does anyone want to add, after listening to someone? Well, Domenic, why don't you give your thoughts on the show and what everyone had to share today?
Yeah, well, it was good at the beginning, Stephen, to get to hear everybody's successes. It's been a minute since we've been able to do that. And especially since we went from 2 hours to 1 hour with the program. So I was glad to hear everybody have an opportunity to express themselves and share that, yes, even in the rough past couple of weeks that we've had, especially here in this country, and some of the, our friends and allies overseas, and some of the extraordinarily hard times that they're going through, that, we as entrepreneurs can share some of the successes and maybe show people that, yes, there are still good things going on, and there are still positive things to look forward to. So that was really great, right? And then as far as the question goes, it's hard to put yourself in that spot, because you're really just projecting what you thought you might have thought about at 10 years old, because I reached back to 10, and it's been so long, I can barely grasp like a flicker of a memory of that time. I mean, if I look back at photos, I can remember certain events, but to remember what I was thinking or what my mindset was as a 10-year-old is just completely blown away.
To be a professional football player, a musician, and
I wanted to be an Olympic gold medalist as a swimmer at that time.
Well, I mean, you have the physique for it.
Well, I was on my way. I mean, if you listen to Jenny's podcast with me, I'll get to tell you all about my swimming career.
Well, I'm going to have to listen to that one. Yeah.
Well, it's getting. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Domenic.
I was just going to say it's being rebroadcast here shortly. Ask Jenny when that comes up.
Today.
Jenny, you could drop that in the chat today. Okay. Yael, first time. What are your thoughts?
I thought it was a nice and candid and fun conversation. And it was really cool to get to know everybody and what, kind of learn a little bit of backstory. It's kind of like when you have a TV show and things happen, and then you kind of learn about a person through their conversation instead of learning their bio, which is kind of boring. Like, oh, I was doing this, I was born here. And then when, so it was actually a really interesting way to just cover everybody here. And you guys are a fun bunch, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's about learning about our qualities more so than what we do. It's why it really tells you a lot about why we do what we do. And Rockstar Connect, about connecting people like this all over the United States, and obviously bringing leaders like you in front of those groups. Very happy that despite all the hard things that are going on in the world, that we're very resilient. That being said, if you are spiritual and you do believe in prayer, please send out good thoughts to everyone over the world that need it. People that we know and people that we don't know. Thanks everyone for being with us this week. We hope to see you next week on Rockstar Connect. Thank you all very much. And next week, Domenic, I'm going to let you come up with the question. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks,
great.
Stephen.
Talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.